Yo, what's going on everyone? Welcome to episode number 6. This one is going to be jam-packed with information about how to build out your DIY coffee truck, coffee trailer, or DIY travel trailer. Here's a little bit about us. We purchased a 1985 Volkswagen Doka T2 truck and we transformed it into our dream luxury mobile coffee truck business, located in Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. We say this every episode, but if this is your first time here, our goal is to provide you with the highest quality content on building out your DIY project. And that's by taking you through our journey and our process. Last episode, we spent time discussing how we completed subfloor, cabinet track, AC and the heater install, as well as installation and luxury vinyl plank installation. Today, on the other hand, we plan on talking about the doors and floor layout. So before we jump into that, let's show you a few clips of the prior episode and then we'll transition into this episode's content. Let's do it. Understanding our space limitations and constraints played a tremendous role in designing our floors, cabinets, and countertop layout. We started by taking inspiration from other people that we knew that have done build-outs like this to develop an efficient workflow and then placed our machines in some sort of mock setup. That really helped out. This honestly ended up making some of the decisions for us. The point I want to make here is start planning this out early so that when you're in the thick of your build, it makes a lot of these decisions a lot easier. So hopefully this helps you understand how and why we decided to make our cabinets the way we did a little bit later on. So now let's jump to the door design and the linear actuator requirements. Of course, there were so many different options on how we could potentially raise our doors, but as we discussed in episode number 5, there are a few strong reasons why we decided to go with electric linear actuators versus gas props or something that doesn't work off of electric. The main constraint is the height of the door, and being able to jump up there, it's not attainable for a barista to be able to do that. That kind of helped inform us as to why we really wanted something with a remote control that you can press up and down and have the doors raise and lower. Also, with gas props, we would have had to have physical locks, and with the linear actuators, the tension from the final pull-in actually acts as its own lock, so something less that we had to design. For the linear actuators, we ended up reaching out to a company called Progressive Automations, and I think they're based out of somewhere in Washington State. We chose them because they have a great supporting staff of engineers we were able to talk to determine what we needed. So they helped us really nail down that system, and we've multiplied it by 2, 1 for each door. Not to mention, I love that you can go onto their website and purchase their products using digital assets or cryptocurrency. I'm not a financial advisor, but I just think that's awesome. It's something that I'm really passionate about and something that I've learned a lot over the last 3 years. I think they're missing one on their website. They need to put XRP down there as well. I'm just saying. Not a financial advisor. Anyways, also on their website, they have a really cool feature where you can go and model exactly what you need as far as the full-on extension and retraction, and then it'll also help you determine the size and the length of the linear motor in order to open your door up 90 degrees. Really cool. I will show you guys that feature here in a second so that you guys can determine which ones you need. All right, so go ahead and start on their website and click on the linear actuator calculator. It's going to show you 3 different applications. You're going to want to be on the dynamic box, which is already pre-selected. So keep scrolling down. You're going to start plugging in your door specifications into these boxes right here. So we're going to play around with that. For us, the box width is the door height. Our door height was approximately 66.25 inches. For box height, it doesn't really matter. So just plug in a number. We ended up selecting 80. By the way, you have to envision that the box is actually turned 90 degrees to look like our application, but it's all going to be the same anyways. Don't worry about that. I guess that our door probably weighs about 40 pounds, so go ahead and plug that in. For max angle, you're going to want 90 degrees. For the lid mount position, this one you're going to have to play around with here in a second, but we're going to do 2 actuators, and I knew I wanted the PA04 Hall effect sensors right here, so this is the part number IP66. For the strokes length, I went ahead and put 16 inches just to mess around with it, but if I were going to do it again, I'd probably go with 12 inches, and I'll describe why here in a little bit. I wanted to show you the interface. So ultimately, for the lid mount position, I'm going to mess around with that, but I knew that my A point was going to be pretty close to the wall right here. So I actually stuck with our A coordinates being 10.86 inches, and then the Y 3.96 inches off of the door encasement right here. That's what we called it. Now, when this travels down, when this retracts, it actually pulls the door in, and this B point is actually going to come somewhere down here. And for us, our linear actuator ended up either not being mounted far enough over here, or we chose the initial length of the actuator incorrectly because it ended up interfering with our cabinet, and we had to notch those in order for them not to interfere. It is what it is, and we're in the process of designing these caps to go over those notch holes to make it look a little bit better. But for you guys, again, you're going to want to either mount this a little bit closer back here or start with a shorter initial length of the actuator, which would probably be 12 or 10 potentially. So I wanted to jump up here in the truck and actually show you guys the X coordinate and the Y coordinate again, so you guys are tracking how exactly we wanted to mount our linear actuator. As you can tell, the X coordinate is actually a measurement from the top of the hinge to the location of the mounting point right here. With that being said, our X coordinate was 10.86 inches, and then our hinge resides behind this metal piece at the top of it. So, you know, just doing a quick measurement, we're sitting pretty close to about 10.86 inches. So that software worked out really well. Finally, the Y coordinate is from the door over, right? We needed the Y coordinate to be 3.96 inches, and ours was a little less than that. When this thing retracts, it pulls the door in, and see, you can tell that's not going anywhere even when I push really hard. So I think our idea worked really well as far as how we decided to attach the actuator to our mounting brackets right here that we ended up welding together. So again, I mentioned that I knew we wanted the Hall effect sensor actuators and its associated control box, because regardless of how much load is on one actuator versus the other, the control box will actually keep the actuator's position the same via a dynamic output signal. It's also low noise, high speed, and water resistant. So here's again the Hall effect sensor actuator. Whatever you decided to choose in the model itself right here, you'd plug into here, right? So for us, we chose a 16-incher. You'd add 4 of these to the cart. And then for the control box, we used the PA40 model series. We ended up buying 2 control boxes, and that comes with 2 remotes for each control box. I want to tell you guys to be wary about walking around your project with these in your pockets. We'll go into detail here in a little bit. If one actuator gets unplugged, the control box will actually prevent motion and an error beep will occur, which is a pretty awesome safety feature. If one actuator moved while the other one didn't, it may rip your door off the hinge, which is again why we decided to go with this product, because it did have those safety features in mind. So Progressive Automation, thank you guys for your help. Good. So here's why you don't want to carry the remotes to the control boxes around your project whenever you're working. For us, I would carry them around in my pockets, and I wouldn't really be aware of what was going on with the door, what state they were in, if something was in front of it, or if the actuator bracket was fully screwed in. You get the point. And let's just say there were a few incidents I would accidentally push the button and I was spared, which are the best kind of incidents, right? So that time in particular, I accidentally hit it while the rear tailgate was up. But the good thing was the bracket was only partially welded, as we were just trying to gauge where we were. And of course, I was 25 foot from the truck, so I wasn't even paying attention to what was happening. And thank goodness the welds just ended up breaking off, and we were able to just weld it back on. No issues there. But there was another time I was carrying them around in my pockets again. I guess I didn't learn from my first mistake. I ended up pressing the button so that the doors would go up, but in this case, the bracket was actually partially screwed into the door. There was only one screw in. So when I did it, it ended up swiveling, and the sharp point of the bracket that I just created ended up poking through the aluminum of the door. I heard what was going on. I ran over, stopped it, and thank goodness the damage wasn't terrible, but it was a blemish, and I wasn't super proud of what I did. Again, just be careful about walking around with keys in pockets and that sort of thing. We eventually just did away with those keys, utilized our physical lock keys to open it up, and used our buttons that we installed. We'll show you those buttons in the electrical portion of the build out, which will probably happen within the next several episodes, so be on the lookout for that. I was cutting the metal down towards the garage. You never guess what happened. I pressed the button on the remote and it came up and boom, put a hole in our door. To fix it, we utilized a few body detail tools to knock down the high points, and we lightly spread a little bit of JB Weld around it so it was waterproofed. And this is probably a good time to recommend purchasing touch-up paint in your main color and trim color in a spray paint cans from O'Reilly while you're at it. As you can see, we've installed the brackets for the actuators, and we actually had the pleasure of trying those out really late at night, so we couldn't give you guys an update there. Hopefully we can do that after we put all the trim on. So as you guys can see, we had to take a step back in time to describe the design considerations of the mounting brackets that we used to mount the actuators. All of this happened before the installation of the subfloor and before paint was complete on the exterior portion of the truck, because ultimately we finished the exterior part of it, but we still went inside to cover up some of the open steel that was still left over from the brackets, as well as other parts on the inside, just to make sure that none of that would rust. Check it out. First things first, we have to mount it like this. We can't mount it like this because, I mean, if it's starting to go up, guess what's getting in the way? The motor. Second point, if it's mounted like this when the door is shut, what's it gonna look like when it's all the way extended? All right, so once it's all said and done, when the wall's up and everything like that, I'm gonna put some black trim over it like that. So what's left? We have a little bit of a lip, and I have to make sure that whatever mounting bracket that I put right here won't interfere with the trim. Another thing is that when I'm welding something on for the door over there, it gets super hot, so we wanna make sure that the paint doesn't get melted. Which is why we ultimately decided to screw this bracket right here that screws into the door, into the side of the door right here. So you'll be able to see that screw right there. We ended up using 5 screws going all the way down just to make this strong enough. Also, with the force being put on this bracket right here, we ended up VHB taping a rubber stopper found at Lowe's. Put it back here so that whenever it is applying a force right here, this is being held up and not getting big. Finally, you'll also notice we use bolts right here to just bolt this in. We didn't want to weld it just in case we did mess up, so that we could just move it up and down on this, but looks like we got it right the first time. We used a 2" by 2" bracket right here, and then we also cut a flat part right here and then welded it together to create a really strong connection. We did that for both sides, so you'll see it on this side as well. Same idea. You'll notice that we used a 2" by 1" piece of metal. Then we attach that with a 1" by 1" right here to another 2" by 2" L bracket right here. And in this case, we did weld it on there because we knew that this is where we wanted it to be. Which reminds me to tell you to go ahead and order 8 of these, 4 for each door. We also had to notch it right here because of the positioning of this coming backwards. You can change the direction of this mount right here so that you could move this way or this way. For this front door, this one was going backward, but for the back door, these ones go in and in. Showing you this side right here, we also have the 2" by 1" right here with a 1 by 1" L bracket. We also have a flat piece right here to connect to it. This one sticks out a little bit more than the other one. And then we have a flat backing right here. That's not super pretty, but it got the job done. And this was welded onto it to provide a little bit extra support to this large bracket right here. So moving to the back, we did the same exact thing as we did on this portion right here. And then over here we did the same exact thing that we did on this side. That's what we came up with, and we're rocking with it. Everything seems to be holding up really nicely. Ooh, all right guys, I think it's time to sign out of this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I would really appreciate it if you guys hit the like and subscribe button, because that is ultimately going to be how other people are going to be able to see this video. So if you can, just go ahead and do that. In this video, we covered the linear actuators and the bracket design. Wow, it took a lot longer than I thought. Ultimately, in another video, we plan on talking to the door finishes and how we got it to look perfect. With that being said, I'll show you a quick sneak peek on what to look forward to in the next video. As we jump into the custom cabinet design and build, we start putting the walls on and the roofing and lights finally go up. Let's get excited. Check it out. Oh, and see you in the next one.